It's time for the Steve and Kyle podcast with Steve.
The update from your lovely bride. I speculated that she thinks less of you just because the life she's accustomed to is Steve comes home from work, Steve goes outside to do work.
Steve hammers on things, makes noise,
Yep.
grunts. Steve takes car apart. Steve needs help putting car back together. The vicious cycle.
Hundreds of dollars spent on parts
To get it back to the exact state that it was in when first purchased.
And Kyle.
I noticed your build, and yup, I'm about that. Congrats again on the engagement. In case you're unsure, we talked about your fiance's dead cousin. I don't feel good about this. Even a week removed, just seeing it in print. The end.
That's right. We ended it with the end.
Yes.
Now, here they are, two guys who are living in style, Steve and Kyle.
I noticed your build. And yep, I'm about that.
We somehow have to get that. I'll figure that out this week. That'll be on the merch
put
store.
that on a shirt.
Promise you, but that'll be in the merch store by the end of the week. I'm about that.
Steve.
Or I noticed your build.
Yeah.
Something like one of those. Something
I
like
noticed
that.
your build on the front and then on the back. And yep,
I'm about that.
I'm about that. Steve and
Amazing.
Kyle podcast, reconnecting missed connections since 2016.
Yeah, that's right. Except for this one and any other one.
And Ray.
Yeah, but one day that's good. That's the sign off episode to this podcast.
When
which
we get,
again, we're
when
not
we
going
get
to.
Ray on.
Yeah, but you're not going to know. And then all of a sudden, there's just going to be some ambient noise coming from, whatever version of the Think Brick I have over here. And it's actually Ray on, like, Google Meet or whatever platform we're using at that point.
Yeah, in case you're unfamiliar, Ray is a very good friend of mine from my college years.
Yeah.
We had a falling out, and we discussed on this podcast before trying to track him down. Then that turned into an idea for a new podcast called Ray Connections.
Yeah, podcast or game show. I forget
Yeah.
which its original form was.
Yeah, basically Ray Connections. Every single episode of it was reuniting two people, one of which whose name was Ray.
Had to be Ray. And maybe that's why we haven't quite gotten that off the ground.
It's a
Right?
very, very specific.
And I think over the years now, we've come to the realization that the obvious host of Ray Connections would have to be Chuck Tomfoolery,
Tomfoolery, of
who again
course.
is a caricature of Chuck Woolery, wearing a red nose and a rubber chicken as a microphone.
Yeah, that's one of those things AI just couldn't get quite right.
Yeah, hands?
When we fed it into the AI machine, we wanted it to be designed. It just couldn't handle it. It was like 85%.
But yes, I will make every effort to have a design for I noticed that build. I noticed your build, and yup, I'm about that.
Maybe it could
on the
be
merch
like
store.
the old school, like Gold's Gym
Yes.
muscle shirts.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Where-
Maybe like
where it's like it's got
bent
like,
bar.
yeah, it's got like the barbell, the
Yep.
dumbbells or the weights on each end.
Yep.
Okay,
I will do my limited best
Appreciate
to pull that together.
Good.
I have a couple things rolling around in my brain I want to get to.
What you got?
The first thing that I really want to ask you, though, has something to do with this week.
All right.
Okay? We didn't talk about it on this podcast, and maybe that's our own fault, but it's Valentine's Day this past week.
It was, yeah. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Can't be said enough. Thank you very much.
And I want to ask you how you go about this as a married man in his late 20s, early 30s,
42, yep.
and a father of two,
Yep.
working,
Yep.
just a lot going on. I want to ask you about your evolution of Valentine's Day
Okay.
and kind of go over with you how I felt this week after the fact.
Okay.
Because I feel like with every relationship, right? With every newfound romance, it probably maybe not starts this way, but at some point you go through that phase where you're going in your own way, all out, right? Or doing quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like your first Valentine's Day together, your second Valentine's Day together. Now, for me and Annette, it was weird because we started dating in early April. So we didn't have our first Valentine's Day. Like, we didn't know each other. The first Valentine's Day we spent together was, it was nearly a year after we had met.
Which is, I mean, probably a good thing.
Yeah, it worked out well because by then you're out of the honeymoon phase. You're already in the, farting in front of each other.
Really?
Like picking nose.
10 months you were out of the... Okay.
Flicking it. No.
Nope. I'll post it on the poll. Is 10 months... Are you out of the honeymoon phase after 10 months?
For the record, I do not have a relationship. I've never had a relationship with anybody, with any partner I've ever been with, where I have felt comfortable farting in front of them.
Right.
Going to the bathroom with the door open.
Yeah, right.
There are certain things I will not do.
Right.
And those are a couple of them. I don't know what, call me old fashioned or whatever, but I'm like, no. When I'm in the bathroom, that's my time. I don't want to walk in. I don't want you pooping with the door open either and being like, oh, check this out. Whoa.
Right. Right. And I also feel like it changes when you're a parent because some points, that's the only time you have to yourself.
I now lock the door whenever I go in the bathroom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if I don't, Nikki is my shadow.
Yeah.
He wants nothing more than to be following me around. That's why every Tuesday night we're garbage buddies. He helps me collect all the garbage throughout the house and take out the garbage and put it in the garbage cans down at the street.
Just so sad.
I know. Like that.
But just you, I need help drawing this because I'm not good enough at artwork. But Steve and Nikki, the garbage buddies,
right? And
I'm thinking, I don't know the movie's title of Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. They were garbage men. That's what I'm thinking of, like the movie cover. But it's you and your son, your toddler son, just walk around picking up banana peels.
Yeah, as long as the AI doesn't need to draw hands,
we're fine.
We're good.
I think it goes Valentine's Day, obviously, when you're dating, when it's a fresh relationship, obviously, it's totally different. I don't think anybody's arguing that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Maybe you're at that phase. Hey, I'm looking to have sex, so I'm going to, do everything I can, right? It's a Tuesday night. Who cares? Ha. Now it's a Wednesday, and I'm thinking, boy, am I in bed by 8:30, 9:30, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is the first year, Steve, that I have felt after Valentine's Day a little bit of guilt.
Oh, no.
Normally, and I'm not saying I do big elaborate things. A lot of years I've done, one year I bought it was a giant, one of those giant novelty cards, right?
Okay,
4 feet tall, set it in front of the hallway when she woke up.
Going all out, maybe doing a balloon or something.
Right.
I
always try to do something. But this year, about 2 weeks ago, is where I looked at her and I said, hey, you're not thinking to do anything for Valentine's Day, are you? And she said, nope. And I said, okay, let's just not then.
Okay.
And
I respect that.
100% totally ignored this year.
So you didn't even do the obligatory Happy Valentine's Day as you were waking up in the morning?
We did that in the morning when we were getting Reed almost out the door to go to school because his Valentines for his class were in the side pocket of his bag. And I said, oh, yeah, Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay. Now, how do you think if you hadn't said that to Katie, do you think she would have said it to you? Or at least be thinking it? Or
yes.
Because I know you guys well enough to know that I think you're, for the most part, you're pretty much on the same page about stuff like that.
Yeah. I would say I am I typically will look forward to these days or know these days are coming well enough in advance and have gifts or ideas or whatever in my head.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, this year...
Nothing.
I don't know if it snuck up on me, but since that day, where again, we did nothing. I don't even remember what we had for dinner. It was like a family, it was probably like macaroni with Reed.
Right. Like little hot dogs cut up in them.
Our only celebration for Valentine's Day was opening up Reed's Valentine's cards from his classmates when he got home from school.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel bad. I feel like that part of the relationship that, it's just a little piece, like a little chisel, right?
Yeah.
Corner of that stone, just ping, just fell off, right? I feel bad. Katie does not care. Could not care less, right? She didn't care about the day to begin with. I think she appreciated when I brought it up because that meant she didn't have to think or ask me or worry about, do I need to do something for him as well? Which, again, she never does.
Pressure's
Don't
off.
care.
Yeah.
I feel guilty. Because I feel like you crossed that bridge.
Yeah. Well,
now, next year...
That's something that's so... I mean, it's so important early on. But, yeah, the further you get into a relationship, you guys have been married almost 10 years? 9 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be 9 years this in 3 months, yeah.
Yeah, but I bet you go back in time 9 years or 10 years when you were just dating, and Valentine's Day was probably a pretty big deal.
Like I said, I wouldn't even say big deal. I've always liked doing those gestures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to come off sounding pompous or selfish or whatever. I've always liked doing that for her and for other people.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You like making your partner happy, or figuring out. In the beginning, it's kind of exciting because you're trying to figure out like what the button is that you want to push.
Yeah, is it a special dinner? Is it a surprise? Is it a gift? There's all these different avenues you could go for Valentine's Day, especially in an early dating relationship.
Sure.
Do you remember then? You're 10 months in. Do you remember what you guys did? Did you get her a gift? Was it a surprise? Was it a special dinner? Was it a trip?
I know that early on. And I know this because I saw the Facebook memory pop up last week. It might have been our first Valentine's Day together, maybe second. I don't know. It was very early on, though. But I remember there was a picture posted of us, like both of us dressed up really nice. And we were at a nice restaurant downtown. And it was one of the ones that's like on the 27th floor of the hotel. And so you see the whole city in the background and everything.
Gotcha.
So I remember that. But I mean, to pick out specific things, I got her this and she got me that. I couldn't.
Let me ask you this then: Is this the Rubicon for me now? Have I crossed it? And it's
tough to go back,
right? Like now, next year, is it fair for me to say, "Hey, I feel guilty about last year," even though Katie, none the wiser, doesn't seem to care at all.
Probably won't even remember by that, by next year, I would assume.
So if by next year I decide, hey, she's going to open the car door in the morning and, 1 million balloons or baby doves are going to fly out, right?
Be a very, very poor thing to do. I mean, if in February in Michigan you're going to put a couple hundred doves in a car overnight.
Baby doves, too.
Yeah, overnight.
Yeah.
They're probably going to freeze to death.
Well, that's true. There you go. Turn the heat on in the car, leave the garage closed?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, go out there every couple hours and just really...
Oh, look at, honey, all the baby birds are sleeping in your car this morning.
Yeah. I like where this is going.
Is it fair to do that next year or to make a gesture again next year? Or are we just at now 9.5 years into marriage or almost 9 years into marriage?
Yeah.
Do I just have to be done?
Well, do you want to know
after skipping one big day?
You want to know what I think you should do? Next year, say it's 3-4 weeks before Valentine's Day. You say to her, Katie, remember last year with Valentine's Day, how we just did nothing? That was perfect, right? And she, chances are, would say, yeah, that was great. No pressure. It was wonderful. Let's do it again this year. All right, sounds good. And then you go out of your way to make the biggest deal of Valentine's Day and really make her feel like crap. So, dinner plans where you got to dress up. So she has to go out and buy like a gown.
Yeah, or either that or I bought her a dress.
Oh, yeah, that works.
You know what I mean? Well. And like, hey, it's Thursday. Put the shiny shoes on. Get in the car. We're going.
Would you have any idea if someone had a gun to your head and said, you need to go and buy a dress for your wife right now?
Right.
Do you have any idea what you would pick out?
None. I wouldn't even know a color. Let alone like one strap, two straps, no straps.
Oh, I love this idea as a challenge.
Should we both have to buy
dress shopping for
a dress for our wives? I think, oh boy.
They'd be like, oh, how tall is she? I don't know, like this high?
Got any dimensions? This looks like about.
Yeah.
I do like this. This is a good piece of content where Steve, you and I, and then we'd have to have Katie and Annette both look at it, try them on, and then rate it personally.
No, I couldn't do this.
What do you mean we have to now?
No, I couldn't. It would be such a shot to my ego. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, but I don't think it should be taken personally, the fact that you and I would not have an iota of a clue about what looks good in a dress, right? Or what appeals to that person in a dress. I could probably count on 2 hands the number of times I've seen Katie like wear a dress.
In a dress, yeah.
And it's mostly, big gatherings, weddings.
Sure.
Bat mitzvahs.
Been to a lot of bat mitzvahs.
Ton of them. A couple quinceañeras.
I had no idea you were so multicultural.
Yeah, obviously different dress cuts for each event. We have to do this.
Okay.
Well, we'll get approval from Annette when we go upstairs. I figure if we both ambush her when we're leaving.
No. See, I think if we're going to do it, they can't have any idea that we're doing it.
Yeah,
it just has to be because your anniversary's coming up.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so this is an anniversary gift?
It's an anniversary gift.
No.
Suddenly
So
you're
what's
out.
your excuse?
Well, I just have to wait until November.
Oh, okay. So we're going to stagger the unveilings of this. So
Wait, when is Katie's birthday?
November.
Okay. Well, if you want, it could be an anniversary gift for Annette and a birthday gift for Katie. So that way they're falling in approximately the same time.
No. This is
any...
too far away. We're not waiting until November because we'll forget. This is happening. So I have a side question for you for this quest.
All right.
Where do you buy dresses for women?
Old Navy?
Oh, okay. So we're going to the Gap, and we're going to ask them about dresses.
Yeah, Forever 21.
No, this is happening. We're doing this as content, and then again, we're going to have to videotape and then get a out of 10 rating from each of them about what they think we picked for them.
Okay. So it's going to be like an episode of... granted, I've never watched it, but I can only assume that this is like Say Yes to the Dress.
Right.
Where we pick something out, and then they go in the dressing room, and then they come out wearing it.
Yes.
And everybody either cheers or boos.
But in this case, it's just the person cheering or booing.
Right.
And I know Annette well enough. She's not sparing your feelings one bit if this dress sucks.
I could buy something for Katie. You could buy something
Oh,
for
this is a great idea.
That way...
So we're already making...
My feelings aren't getting hurt
Right.
if Katie doesn't like the dress I picked out.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell me what kind of dress
same.
I can pick out?
And what do I care what Annette thinks? Right? This is a great idea. And also making an already very difficult task a lot harder. Like a lot harder.
Yes. And you cannot... you can't use Katie to help you buy a dress for Annette.
Sure. No.
And vice versa.
I would actually appreciate...
How awkward is this going to be when we get together? Because obviously we will plan this, and I'll say,
it's a full
we're
event.
Gonna, Kyle wants to know if we want to grab drinks tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Sound good? Yeah, let's go out and grab drinks with them. I show up, you show up, and we both have boxes that are wrapped like presents.
Well, we're all meeting here or at our house. It doesn't matter which one.
Oh, no. I think it has to be at a restaurant.
Well, but we need to get them. They need to be dressed.
Right. Well, they can go in the restroom.
Okay. We're taking again an already really hard job that we've given ourselves, which is find a dress our significant others will like, by flipping that on its head and saying we're going to buy one for the other significant other.
I just love the idea of putting your wife on the spot in public.
Yeah.
And I say, Katie, I was out the other day and I saw this and I thought of you. Mm-hmm. And so I picked it up for you. Hand her the box, and then she'll obviously be uncomfortable, and I'll just stare at her and be like, "You gonna open it?" No, right now.
And everybody's uncomfortable except for me and you because we know what's going on.
Oh, I'm still very uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. And then I do. Then she opens it and is very uncomfortable, and then I reach down and do the same. Said, you're not going to believe this. But I was out also. And Annette, I saw this and I thought of you. So here's what I'm hoping happens out of this. Because, one, this is absolutely happening. 100%.
No. This might be...
We listen, I love this. We're building up a year of content. We only have...
God, I don't know if I've ever been more nervous.
We have 6 weeks now where you and I have to run 100 yards. Yes. Or 100 meters? 100 meters.
100 meters.
Because that's our Q1 athletic feat of greatness.
Yeah.
And now we have to go shop. But the shopping thing we're doing together. We're going to where... I don't know where we're going. Because, again, we don't know where dresses are sold. But we're going out.
Claire's? Can you buy a dress at Claire's?
Is that the place where, like, the 6-year-olds get their ears pierced?
Yeah.
And then, like, a week later, like, hey, my daughter's ear's about to fall off. I don't know about Claire's. We'll add it to the list.
All right, so Old Navy,
The Gap.
The Gap, and Claire's.
Yeah, and maybe Forever 21. I don't know if that's makeup or clothes.
All right, well.
Now my wife will be... There's a couple days where she works later, and I also work from home. Mm-hmm. So for me to, one, figure out where she hangs her dresses, because I don't know, and two, kind of look at how dresses are they numbers? Like, is it a letter? Dress sizes?
Yeah.
For me...
I need a dress size L. No, not large. It's just L, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K.
Yeah.
L, right? Oh, you only have M?
For me, I've got all the time in the world to do that. But you, Annette, who's home, there's a decent chance she's going to see you
snooping through her dresses
and have 1 million questions about what you're doing and why. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to need you to come up with, you're going to have a cross-dressing story. Some other avenue to explain away why you're like,
sure,
head deep in the closet, whipping dresses over, trying to find just a letter or number. Again, we don't know what they're using. A letter and a number. Okay.
R9.
The Steve and Kyle podcast dress off.
Oh boy. This is going to be something. I don't know if I've ever been more nervous about anything in my entire life.
I cannot wait to buy Annette a tuxedo. So, Steve, we got very, very lost there.
Very sidetracked.
But again, stay tuned for the day Steve and I are walking through the Gap, asking the 19-year-old part-time associate where I can buy a dress for my friend's wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be right next to you saying, you're not going to believe this. I'm the friend. I also need to buy a dress for my friend's wife.
But I wanted to ask you, the whole point of what I brought that up for is to ask you what you guys did for Valentine's Day this week then.
Not a whole lot.
Real? Okay,
Yeah.
So you were not the same boat, but a similar boat.
Very similar boat, yeah. I think it was about 3 days before Valentine's Day.
Okay. So we're looking at the 10th, the 11th, something like that.
Yeah, we're upstairs, and Annette had a bit of a look of frustration on her face and looked at me, and she said, oh, we're not doing anything for Valentine's Day yet, right? Or we're not doing anything for Valentine's Day this year.
I understand bringing it up and saying it. Mm-hmm. Hearing it is almost like a punch to Oinky, the fake valve.
The pig heart.
Yes.
The pig valve in your heart. Yeah.
But good time to ask you then, before she said that,
right?
Had you been thinking about doing something, whether, again, gift, surprise event, dinner? Okay.
Yeah, because I had... I had ordered her flowers already, like a week before. So
order flowers, you get one of those little like side gig.
No.
Complimentary.
No, this was there is a florist that she follows on Instagram and absolutely loves everything they do.
Jesus Christ, I've never heard anything so old. when like 19 to 30, your Instagram algorithm for men is probably 95% women in bathing suits and like For me, it's sports or like,
Yeah.
look at this crazy hand of poker or whatever, right?
That golfer lady with the big jugs.
Yes, right. Well, there was one that came up on my algorithm the other day of a woman who was at Topgolf and swung so hard she fell from the top story.
I've seen that one.
Hard not to laugh, right? But now, for my algorithm, as I age, is millions of weenie dog videos. Okay. But you're telling me that your wife's Instagram algorithm, who is about as active as me on Instagram, which is, I think I have one picture in 7 years.
Okay. Maybe you want to throw something else up there?
Is florist?
Yeah.
Okay.
She follows a lot of local businesses.
Okay.
So yeah, I had already ordered her the flowers, and so when she said, "We're not doing anything, right?" and I said, "Well, I kind of did something already," meaning the flowers, and she said, "Okay," and then I said, "How about we just do nice cards for each other this year?"
Jesus Christ.
And she said, "I like that idea."
Okay.
Now,
you're talking like the $5.79 to $7.99.
Yeah. Well, I'm going shoebox. So, I did just remember something that we did on one of our early Valentine's Day pre-kids.
Okay.
And I knew right then that I had picked the right person to spend the rest of my life with, because she said to me, "Hey, for Valentine's Day this year, can we get one of those pizzas that's shaped like a heart?" And I said, "Hell yeah, we can."
Could have made it more romantic and made a pizza.
Well, we also got the heart-shaped cookie, and it was like
very nice.
The take and bake ones where you pick them up and then you take them home and throw them and pop them in the oven. But anyway, yeah. So
sorry, I'm just furiously updating polls. You can find them at Steve and Kyle. If your Instagram algorithm is florist, is your marriage dead, and are quote nice cards for Valentine's Day end quote a sign that you won't be having sex. Sorry, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
So you decide on nice cards.
Yeah, we did nice cards, which that was pretty much it. But it was focused all on the kids, getting them little. I don't know. I don't remember ever getting things for Valentine's Day from like my parents or anything.
Right.
I think that Annette grew up a little bit differently where they did.
Right.
So I am totally on board. Okay, you want to get a little gift bag with a little, couple pieces of candy and
a bow on it.
A bow.
Yep.
So I stopped and I picked up the candy for the bags.
Yep.
And the little like Mylar balloon on a stick with the heart-shaped balloon on the end of it.
Yep.
Which Nikki promptly popped. And
you've got a real Bin Laden on your hands. It seems like
he is a piece of work. So that was pretty much our Valentine's Day. Oh no, I noticed, it was maybe a month ago. I have one of those, phone chargers next to the bed. It's like the wireless phone charger.
Yes.
So you can lean the phone on there, and then it's got the little thing on the top for my watch.
Yep.
Watch sets in there. For some reason, the watch part of it stopped working. So like 2 days before Valentine's Day, I got an email notification from Amazon. "Oh, your order has been placed." And I look at it, and it's a new phone charger.
Oh, nice job. Nice gift, Steve.
And I was like, "Oh." And then she said to me, she's like, "Hey, don't check the Amazon orders." I was like, "I already saw it." She's like, "Happy Valentine's Day." And I said, "Happy Valentine's Day."
You've got to set up. Here's what I did years ago. Got to set up the family account.
Yeah.
It can only work for one other person, but for that purpose, it's beautiful. Like I did that for mostly Christmas reasons a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I'll go through and I'll archive orders so people can't see them. But yeah, there's no way around that.
Yeah.
Right. If you're the email set up on the main,
right.
And
I
everything
think
comes through there.
Right. Because she's still, I'm sure that her old Amazon account that she had before we met, it's probably still active.
Yeah.
But I mean, once we got married, like why? We just kept it hooked up to the same account. Oh, and I do.
Did you feel any pressure though after that? So you got that in the mail.
Well, that's all right, because I already had something in my back pocket.
Why? See, this is why I initially brought it up, right? Because I felt bad in years past for anniversaries and stuff like this, where it was never really acknowledged, and I've gotten her something, and she's felt bad, which is never the intent.
Yeah,
I don't want that. it might come off as cliche to say I've loved buying gifts. I love it. It's my favorite thing for holidays, for events. I much prefer to see that person opening a gift that I got them than me receive stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like a war for you, though. You're like, well, she got that for me. Well, now I got the card out of the back pocket that I've got to play the.
I'm telling you, man, I was one step ahead.
Okay, let's hear it.
As you know, my wife is a big fan of following florists on Instagram.
Obviously, Steve. Yeah, I mean that's the standard.
So, she's also a big fan of.
Oh no, God!
Decorating the fireplace mantle for the holidays.
Christ, I can't. So again, for a lot of women that age, there's an equal chance you're going to open the Instagram for you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like surfer dude, long hair, chiseled abs, soccer player ripping his shirt off in celebration, bodybuilder, whatever. You're telling me in this house, not that far removed from the honeymoon, where you're buying garage door openers with a bra flinging by your head.
Still a good purchase.
That if Annette were to show us right now, and again, I wouldn't ask, although, God, that'd be a fun bit, where we each had to go through our Instagram for you algorithm. just to say, hey, here's the top 20 thumbnails on our Instagram for you. If we were to force Annette right now to come down here.
I got to pull mine up right now and see what it is.
If we were to force Annette right now to come down here, Steve, and say, open up your For You, and what are the first 20 tile cards? I want to see what they are. You're telling me it would be decorated fireplaces and floral arrangements.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. Continue.
So, knowing that she's a big fan of the fireplace mantle decorations, she'd bought these lights like last year, the year before, to dangle across the mantle, and they look beautiful around Christmas, and you got the little Christmas scene and everything. Well, the big problem was they had to be plugged in and unplugged. They didn't have like a remote or anything. So I was like, I got this. Ordered a couple smart outlets, made a routine on the Amazon Alexa. So I could say, Amazon, turn on the mantle lights. Boop. Okay. They pop on. Turn off.
What'd you go wattage on that?
I don't know.
Listen, you're typically a guy who thinks about those things, right? Just wanted to check.
But yeah, so when she revealed to me that she got me the phone charger, I was like, oh, well, I got you these.
I'm feeling better about just ignoring it on my end because it felt like in your head an internal back and forth. Because you're like, well, what if she does get me something? I have this in the back pocket, but I don't want to do it unless she gets me something because we agreed we weren't going to do anything.
Yeah.
But then she did something.
That's why I think you have to have
You got to have a plan, first of all.
You need to have, I think this is an old man thing. You have to have the gift in the back pocket that you just kind of hide in the closet at all times throughout the year.
Okay.
And it just has generic wrapping paper on it. So if something comes up and she surprises you with a gift, you can just be like, oh, I got you something too. It's right upstairs.
So you're telling me you need to keep an evergreen gift.
Evergreen gift, yeah.
Okay, I'll post it on the poll. Do you have to have an evergreen gift in the house? Yeah. I don't hate that idea.
You always hear about
you think like 20, 30?
You always hear about the old guy that dies and then, the wife is going through his closet and she finds 20 hats that he never gave to her. I think that was from If You Build It, He Will Come. Ray.
Oh yeah, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, yeah.
There was a story, I believe, maybe it was a book, I forget, about like someone who had paid and scheduled flowers to be delivered for 15 years or something after, they punted the 5-galloner. Listen, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you spoke about it so matter-of-factly because it made me feel a little bit better about my guilt because I can't do that back and forth of like, do I actually get him a gift? Do I not? What do I do? You're right. Stunningly, much like every other holiday, even Valentine's Day, somehow becomes just about the kids.
Yeah.
Miraculous.
It is shocking. The night before Valentine's Day, I was putting Evelyn to bed, and finish reading the stories, give her a hug, give her a kiss, and she says, Dada. I said, yeah. She said, I wonder what you're going to get me for Valentine's Day. It's like, what the hell, kid?
Yeah, it's that way about Easter. We're talking about Easter. We're talking about when Reed will ask me when's my birthday. I'm like, dude, it was very, very recently.
Yeah.
Like, give Dad a break.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's something.
I'm trying to think. We don't watch as many movies around the house anymore. Just going to bed on time more so. I realize now, the day before Valentine's, we put on a romantic comedy, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
Mostly so I could just daydream after Glenn Powell, the actor. Sydney Sweeney was there. That's fine, but like Glenn Powell.
Oh, okay. I know. Yeah.
Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
Woof.
Oh, Sydney Sweeney. That's my
my
hall pass. Yeah.
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell is yours. Didn't they? Wasn't there rumors that they were?
Listen, anything to sell a movie.
Yep.
Anything to sell a movie. Hey, I mentioned this to you while I was off air, but I wanted to bring back. We haven't done this in a while, and I've been getting guff from my friend UP Chris whenever he decides to carve out a message on a stone tablet, attach it to the pigeon, send it to civilization.
Yeah.
And we have gone way too long, Steve.
Yeah.
Without having a good, rousing rendition of the Fast Five.
Fast Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow. Yeah, it has been a long time. A year, maybe?
Man. I know for a while we wanted to do this once a month, and that, you just get sidetracked with discussions about buying dresses for your friend's spouse.
We've all been there.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring it back. Did you want to start or me start this week?
If you want to start, go ahead.
Number 1, Navalny.
Hold on. God, it's been so long since we've done this. We might want to kind of reset this. The Fast Five originated way back in the early days of this podcast.
It's our first bit.
Yeah, and it was our way of just like very briefly touching on topical things that were going on. And so basically it was like word association. I would have a list of 5 things. I'd read them off one by one. You would give a quick comment on them. We'd move on to the next one. And then at the end, we would kind of reverse it and go back, dive a little bit deeper into them. And then the other person would go the same order.
And I think the reason this thing fell by the wayside was we ended up taking too much time on them.
Shocking.
So when we do that, when we now do this segment, this bit, I like to leave time because the idea of it is to go through rat-a-tat-tat the topics, but then spend a little more time.
This is it. We're reinventing the bit right now. We're obviously going to get it right this time.
This is the original intention of the Fast Five. Steve, number 1 for me, Navalny.
Well, let me tell you about...
Number 2,
what was it?
Navalny.
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 No idea what that is.
Oh, boy, you are in for some news on the turnaround.
Okay.
Number 2, spring training.
Pitchers and catchers, right?
P's and C's. They get your juices flowing a little bit. You got the Phil's jersey on. And
makes me happy because I know that spring is around the corner. Don't really care about baseball.
Election season.
Oh, boy. Nothing I like more than talking about a bunch of idiots that don't have our best interests.
It just feels too long at this point. Like, for me, that's my only gripe, right? Like,
it starts, like, if you think that after November we're going to be like, oh, good, no election season talk for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
No, it's just going to start back up in January.
It's like a brand new cycle. It's bananas. And I think it's just wearing me out on the extensiveness and how long it is. Madam Web.
Oh, I heard that it got terrible reviews.
I haven't seen a movie dunked on like this in a long time. This thing has been shredded from top to bottom by fans, critics alike. Devastating. And lastly, been wanting to talk about this one for a while. Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Oh, boy. I didn't know anything about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I kept seeing the name pop up. I think I was familiar with the story, but I didn't know the name associated with the story. So basically, she was kind of like held captive by her mother, essentially, and it was kind of like a Munchausen syndrome type thing where her mom constantly told her she was sick, she was not well, she couldn't interact with other kids or whatever. And then Gypsy Rose, how old was she? Was like in her
teens, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe early 20s.
I was going to say late teens, early 20s. But then she got a boyfriend and convinced the boyfriend to kill her mom.
Correct.
And she was in prison for...
Doesn't seem very long for that, right?
Yeah. Maybe she was. Maybe it was because she was a minor. I don't know. I don't know nearly enough about this, but I know that it's a big deal now because she's written a book and kind of told her side of the story.
So I'd watched, I believe it was I don't know if it was a documentary or a show on it years ago. Hulu did a show, HBO had a show, there was a 4-part doc, whatever. Plenty of stuff on this about 3 to 4 years ago that I remember ingesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize she was due to get out or whatever. And she did. And as I age, I always like seeing this stuff because it's worked this way with sports reporters as well and news breakers. You can kind of tell who has the in and where this information is coming from.
Right.
So Gypsy Rose Blanchard has very clearly found an avenue with TMZ and the like.
Okay.
Because it's like she got out and for the first few weeks it's Gypsy Rose Blanchard wants to meet Taylor Swift, planning on going to concert. It's like, what? It's like Gypsy Rose has Burger King. And it's just bombardment of this stuff. And I get what happened. I get that it's the way she was treated and handled as a youth is atrocious. Awful.
Sure.
She's a convicted murderer.
Yeah.
And she's now being built up. Like she was at a wrestling event last week taking pictures with all the wrestlers and the belts. And turns out she couldn't go to this Taylor Swift show because she couldn't leave the state or was forced to leave the state one way or the other. Like the state didn't want her there anymore.
That's a shame. I'm sure that Taylor would have been thrilled to meet her.
It's the strangest news thing I've followed. And now now she was not fell out, but the most recent stuff was she's in the news because she's made comments about her random, prison house husband who she met while she was in prison. Yeah. He was not. Like, oh yeah, his penis is great. What? What are we doing here?
So that's not the one that helped to murder her mom? Different
Correct.
person? Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Surprisingly, that relationship didn't work out.
I don't know. I'm up in. I struggle with how to feel about this whole situation outside of the idea that she very clearly has the one avenue to make money and make a life, and that is to try to be in the spotlight for whatever reason.
Yeah, write a book, do a reality show, or sell the rights to her story.
Before that, Madam Web, the newest incarnation of the non-Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, where does this fall in the...
I don't know.
Is this a Sony?
It's a Sony joint.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with the MCU. Or does it?
Well, it's in the universe as the same Spider-Man.
Okay. But
it does not have Spider-Man. He's only referenced. So anyway,
got it.
This is I'm a big diehard Spider-Man fan. I have the comic books featuring Madam Web, and she is a very, very old woman who is not what the movie is purporting. Mm-hmm. And this thing, by all counts, is horrific.
So you didn't see it?
No.
Okay.
No. This is in the catalog, and it's being trashed similarly as Morbius, which was...
I'm surprised, though, that you didn't see it, because it's...
Only when it's free. When it's free, I'll watch it.
Really? So you won't...
I won't pay for this.
As much of a movie fan, especially a Spider-Man fan as you are, you won't go see a Spider-Man-based movie.
No. I did not see the Venom movies that were in theaters. Did not see those. Did not enjoy those.
All right.
Much like those. This is one of the most destroyed movies I've ever seen online. It sounds like there's nothing redeeming about it.
What is the Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, good question. Last I checked, do you want to give it a guess?
I mean, having nothing to base it on, I've heard so much bad stuff about it. I don't know, a 35?
This movie would pray for a 35.
Really?
Absolute prayers if it could be sniff the 30s. Currently sitting at 13%.
Oh, boy. And refresh my memory. How much is that out of a possible...
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. That can go up to 100.
Okay.
And now this is a movie with Dakota Johnson, who's very popular.
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney.
Oh.
Like, probably one of the most popular actresses in Hollywood today. Totally bombed in every regard. I'm trying to look at, because I don't even know a lot of the other, if there's any other big Celeste. Yeah, okay. Either way, this thing was no excuse for not being massive. And it bombed critically and box office.
Okay. All right. I will add that to the list of movies I'm not going to go see.
To the millions. Before that election season, Steve. You tired yet?
I've been tired of it for a year.
And it's crazy to be tired about something that we've kind of seen as an inevitable rematch.
Yeah.
For the better part of 3.5 years.
It's just so depressing that this is the best we can do.
We have one candidate
of octogenarians. Well,
Yep.
Trump's not 80 yet, right? What's he, 70?
77, 78.
Okay, so he would be 80 while he was in office.
We have an 81-year-old, a nearly 80-year-old.
Yeah.
One who it seems like they're afraid to put out there because they don't want him to do interviews because he is having mental issues.
He looks, I mean, just even when you see him just walking, you're like,
He's 81, Steve.
Boy.
Like, this is unprecedented in terms of what are we doing here.
Yeah.
And the other guy can't make time for an interview because he's got too many court cases to go to.
Yeah, he's over the last month or so, it's been told that he's been told he has to pay over $1 billion in
and this is before
restitution
the 4 criminal trials have even began.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
It's so sad. It's so sad that because no one in the world would be able to convince me that these two are the best options available.
It's so bad on both ends right now.
I know.
That this is what we're staring down the barrel of in November, barring insane, unforeseen circumstances. Yeah. We're staring at a 77 or 78-year-old, an 81 or 82-year-old in a rematch of 4 years ago that nobody wanted then.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, at least
their planes just need to... Seriously.
At least we only have 9 months to go.
Yeah.
9 months to go in election season. Before that, spring trainings. That gets your... I know you're not a baseball fan, a sports fan for the most part, but...
I still like it, though.
You see those videos, the images of them throwing down in Florida and their warm-up jerseys. Does that get you like...
Walking out on the...
Pop of the mitt.
Walking out on the field for the first time. Yeah, I do. I like that. Because it's nostalgia for me. I remember I used to be a big baseball fan, so I'd be excited when... baseball season's right around the corner. I can't wait. Nowadays, it's more I'm excited because it means that we're hopefully close to the end of winter.
Right.
Just going into spring and revival and, summer's right around the corner. I love it. I love that.
No, it's funny. I mean, I bet if we talked to Brother Mike, it'd be totally different. He's probably sitting at home with his Phillies hat.
Brother Mike's
checking flights to get down to the middle of Florida to go see.
He's gone down to Clearwater a bunch of times to see some games. Some buddies of his. Yeah.
Spring training just means different for a lot of people, but you're right though. It signals a change for the world, right?
Like that mental flip or that mental switch gets flipped.
Lastly on the list, Navalny. You didn't no idea what I was talking about.
Navalny.
Now, you work on a radio show where you talk about news and, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I don't know what you guys talk about. I haven't listened in years.
Sure.
If you're not a fan of the production.
Yeah, it's been lacking.
Alexei Navalny, the main outspoken opponent, critic of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president / czar. 47 years old.
Yeah.
Went for a morning walk. The day after he was shown smiling and laughing while appearing for court. Mm-hmm. For a morning walk, came back to his cell in Siberia, literally Siberia.
Yeah.
Died on the spot.
It's weird, right? It's weird how all the opponents of Putin just mysteriously die.
The long-standing joke, I guess you can call it, of Russia is that Russians have a falling out of windows problem. Because that is mostly how Putin's opponents over the last decade have passed away. Yeah. Is quote-unquote suicide out of the window.
Yeah.
This is a new one. This is a healthy 47-year-old who mysteriously passed away and was, I believe, an Oscar-winning... Yeah, I'm double-checking right now. I believe this won the Oscar, for Best Documentary, last year's Oscars. Mm-hmm. Navalny, which is on HBO. If you have time, watch it. One of my favorite movies of 2023. Outstanding stuff, and to see it happen pretty much live after this documentary was released.
Yeah.
And him knowing what was happening, knowing he was going to prison, going back to Russia, knowing willingly that he was going to be arrested and everything, in the name of trying to save a country, and then he dies.
Yeah.
A couple years later. I don't know how that's not terrifying for everybody around the world. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. The fact that can just happen, and everybody knows it's going to happen. Like, well, he'll be dead soon.
This wasn't the first time. He was poisoned in 2020. He was on an airplane.
Yeah.
It was a Novichok nerve agent. That's right. He was sick on a flight, hospitalized, serious condition, put in a medically induced coma.
Yeah.
Came out of it only after he was transferred to Germany, where they could save him.
Right.
Because they weren't going to save him in Russia.
Yeah.
This is crazy. That's Russia, China, obviously North Korea, and anywhere in the Middle East are all on the list I would never even remotely consider traveling to, Steve.
Yeah, I have no desire to go there.
If you had to pick one today, Russia or like Iran, right? You have to go. A week-long trip.
Russia, I guess.
You think you could like stay under the radar type of thing?
So.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I could just like keep my head down and just
hammer vodka so you feel like one of the like a resident.
call people comrade. That's what they do there, right?
Do they? So that just yell like KGB. So people think people will think you're KGB,
Yeah.
or you're just talking KGB.
Yeah. Talk about the glory days of the Soviet Union.
This is crazy. Like for me, this is news that should break through the normal news cycle. I don't know if it will, and I don't think it has for the most part, because it's just not surprising.
Yeah.
Right? It's the only way it's broken through the news cycle is now people are calling out Trump because he has not said a word about it. He's a fan of Putin, as we all know.
Sure.
Conveniently not discussing this topic, but yeah, it's
interesting.
This is, I don't know. It doesn't feel that far away, even though it is the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's still like, for me, oh my God, people live that way.
This is a big thing.
That's nuts.
All right, good job on your list. Here is
Fast Five.
mine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Fast Five. It's been a minute,
Yep.
but we're going to talk Super Bowl Saturday.
Oh God. This has been in the national discussion point for
Remember, brief.
Obviously they should. Yes. It needs to be Saturday. Get your heads out of here. Wouldn't it be so much better?
Number 2, Ozzy Osbourne and Kanye West.
Yeah, what a weird feud. Boy, both weird people.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with anybody being upset with Kanye West.
Number 3, the Kelsey brothers.
Getting near the enough is enough.
Overexposure.
Getting near enough is enough. Can't say I don't like them. They seem like likable people.
Yeah.
Off the field, whatever.
But
I don't think we've... could you name another football center in history?
Mike Utley. Wasn't he the center for the Lions and he was paralyzed?
He's the one who got paralyzed, yeah.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of is the guy from the Raiders, Barrett Robbins, who had a total mental breakdown and like fled to Mexico the night before a Super Bowl and couldn't be found.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, you don't... The point being, they're not household names.
Yeah.
Except for Jason Kelsey. Mm-hmm. Man.
All right, number 4, Alyssa Milano. Have you heard about the...
Oh my gosh, is this about the Little League funding thing? Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Hard to see it as anything other than insanely hypocritical, right?
And finally, the presidential election.
Just be here. They're not going to end up doing debates, so it's just going to be a bombardment of TV ads and back and forth by spokespeople because neither of them will actually talk. Just be here. Just let it be November.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm exhausted.
So now I'm looking forward to November for 2 reasons. 1, presidential election will be over. And 2, our dress gift exchange.
Which, again, is not happening in November because we will forget about it.
We're not going to push it back that long. All right, before that, number 4 was Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano, a couple weeks ago, made headlines Now, notorious for it was Who's the Boss, right?
Was it
She,
Who's the Boss?
she was on Who's the Boss.
And then was it Charmed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and just a mega star of the
Yes.
late 80s, early 90s.
I would say for a lot of young men,
Yeah.
probably born in the early 80s.
She was the poster.
She was
the
the not Suzanne Summers. Why can't the Goldie Hawn. Mm-hmm. Farrah Fawcett, not Goldie Hawn.
I agreed. So,
Farrah Fawcett, that iconic poster of her
Yeah.
in the bathing suit.
Yep.
That era, it was Alyssa Milano for a lot of people.
so taking some heat because a couple weeks ago she posted a link to her kids' baseball team's GoFundMe because
Yeah.
they're trying to like raise money to, go to Cooperstown or something. And a lot of people quick to point out like, hey, you're really rich.
Yes.
Maybe you could just pay for it. And yeah,
She outright
good look.
said in a reply to that, that has been screenshot a lot, that I don't have that kind of money. And I don't know what the GoFundMe is trying to raise. I have no idea. In my head, I'm trying to think of a trip to small town upstate New York
yeah,
for, 15 kids. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let's call it mid to high five figures. Maybe I'm woefully off.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only reason that it's still being talked about, and I believe this is why you brought it up, is 2 weeks ago, a beautiful shot from about row 25 of the end zone
yeah,
of the Super Bowl with her
Yes.
and her son,
yes,
where she made every comment about it, or her caption about it was like mother-son bonding time. It wasn't implied that it was from a sponsor, and I think she knew it was happening because when I clicked on it, there were no comments allowed.
Oh yeah. It's weird when you shut off.
She absolutely knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
How do you... I don't know if she's spoken about it since. How does that not come off as insanely hypocritical?
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, by the way, I have. Well, I can assume what the cost of taking a baseball team to Cooperstown is. It's got to be north of $10 million because she's worth $10 million.
Oh, good.
And she clearly said that she doesn't have that kind of money. So
I get if you
trips
don't...
to Cooper. Look, I stand corrected. Trips to Cooperstown are expensive.
I just did a very quick Google search, and I don't see her with any comments since this. Outside of all of the articles typing backlash for Super Bowl, lambasted for attending Super Bowl, gets flack for Super Bowl photo.
Maybe just don't post that picture.
Yes, either that or lie. Given to you. Like someone
Yeah.
gave them to you, whatever.
Yeah.
There's avenues to not make yourself look like a fool there, and she took none of them and is just ignoring it, like wiping her hands saying, yep, I know what I did. The get-in price for the Super Bowl was $9,000. Those were not $9,000 tickets.
No.
Let's say for those 2 tickets it cost us $30,000.
Yeah.
How far would that have gotten them from LA to like Missouri on the flight to Cooperstown?
Right.
Unbelievable.
Before that, we talked to Kelsey Brothers, and I think that you have the same opinion that I do. They are very, very close
Yeah.
to the overexposure.
And I got to tell you, I find at least Jason likable.
I find
I find
both
his wife much more likable. She
find
seems
them
to be
both,
funny.
I find both of the brothers very likable.
Yes. I am just irritated. I shouldn't say it's their fault. They're just the two guys. They started this podcast, I don't know, it was last season, 2 seasons.
I think it was, I thought it was during COVID.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Either way, listen, you want to do that and talk about, there's so many NFL players who do that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So it's not the fault of the podcast.
No, and I think that they're good at that too.
Yes.
I've listened to a bunch of it, and they're athletes talking about what they do,
Yes.
and they give good inside info. Anytime you can get that inside info from an athlete, like what in that huddle, what were you talking about right here? Or what was the focus on in this moment?
And it's seemingly funny.
I think that stuff it's fascinating.
Yes.
I enjoy that more than I enjoy the actual sport. Like the psychology behind it. I think that's great.
I can't get over just it's not. That's the only news cycle for athletes that you seems to be happening ever.
Yeah.
Right? Jason, Travis Scott, like just this past week, obviously with the horrific shooting that happened at the Super Bowl parade.
Yeah.
And it was obviously articles about all that, but then there's a whole separate pantheon of Jason Kelce trying to return a luchador mask from Super Bowl party that he borrowed from a kid, and it's like, okay, I don't need every facet of their life.
I mean, I would assume that it is very heavily amped up because of the Taylor Swift effect. Obviously, all eyes are
also
on him.
not her fault.
No, I feel like I'm one of the few that has no problem with
No.
Taylor Swift being a football fan.
Yeah.
There have been numerous studies done about like how much more or how many more women watched the game this year, and like young girls watching games with their dad because now they're interested in football because Taylor Swift is dating a football player. I think that's great. I think that anytime, parent-children interactions can increase because of a common bond, I think that's amazing. So the Taylor Swift effect for me, I'm like, that's cool. Hey, great. I'm not guy that's watching the game. They showed her for 9 seconds. Shut up. If they weren't showing her, it would be a shot of some random dude on the sideline or a fan with a funny hat. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm worried that Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce are nearing the tipping point of overexposure.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think we're what is going to keep it amplified is obviously Taylor Swift, but also they're both at the tail ends of their careers, presumably 34 and I think 36, 37 for Jason.
And with Jason, it seems like it's a day-to-day thing. Like,
he is very day-to-day. Yes.
I'm not going to retire. I'm going to retire. Not going to retire. And I can't imagine being in that situation because, obviously everyone's going to, most people want to retire at some point, and you look forward to that. But when you're on that level, you're one of the most elite people that's ever done what you do. That's got to be very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, both those guys already, just based on the podcast and everything, seeing them have a career in the media.
If they want it.
Yeah.
If they don't, they don't have to do anything.
Right.
They've made their money. Don't have to do a thing.
Impossible to argue. Tipping point is near on the Kelce brothers.
Okay, Ozzy and Kanye. The feud that you never saw coming.
Yeah, and this, to me, it's hard. I kind of put it in the same boat as when politicians get told by bands and acts, stop using my song for your rallies. Yeah. Right?
Hey, Born in the USA is not a patriotic song.
It's amazing that people haven't realized that. 40 years. 40 years now.
50.
Was it 70, 74?
Yeah.
So what? Unbelievable that we're almost at 50 years and people still don't understand the point of that song. Right? You'd be just as likely to play Buffalo Springfield, right? Coming up there and not having a clue what you're actually playing.
Yeah. Maybe just find a good music bed.
Yeah, so Kanye West.
A good rock-driven music bed.
Kanye West has been battling whatever he's been battling for a long time and has last 3-4 years, too many to count, anti-Semitic remarks. Mm-hmm. So he reached out supposedly to Ozzy Osbourne or the agency, whatever.
Yeah, whoever you're supposed to. I don't know. It's like
I don't know how that works.
The copyright holder or whatever.
Yeah, to sample some music for his most recent rap album. Ozzy Osbourne said no. He used it anyway. I don't know the legalities behind that. I don't know if can you still pay I mean, not need permission?
Yeah, I always was under the impression that asking was just kind of the courtesy.
Right. But
you don't need to do it.
I'd thought for the better part of a year that Fast Car cover by Luke Combs wasn't really discussed. He just paid the percentage to Tracy Chapman or the agency or whatever to do that. And I have a feeling that this is probably the same.
Yeah.
That he was asking permission because you're supposed to.
Yeah, but I mean, if they say no.
Mm-hmm.
even though legally you're still, if that's the case, if legally you're still allowed to do it, but you're just paying a whatever higher percentage, I don't know. You still feel like a jerk doing it, though.
But for Kanye West, it's nothing. He's been known as a jerk, a prickly person for a long time. I don't know any update on this outside of
neither do I.
Ozzy Osbourne tweeting that, hey, he asked for permission. I said no. I don't know if this is going to be a legal issue.
Yeah.
He's not the only person to have issues with Kanye West. Again, a very vocal anti-Semite over the last 3 to 4 years, which is an absurd turn to see anybody take, let alone somebody from a marginalized community like his.
Right.
I mean, he grew up, I believe, a relatively poor and African-American community. So to randomly hate the Jewish people, unbelievable. I just typed it in to see. Looks like the album was pulled off of Apple Music, but that reappeared. And it's still using part of an uncleared. So that I think that's what the point would be then. He asked, was told no, probably needed the yes in this regard.
Got it.
So I would bet there will be legal ramifications. Sure. You can't claim irony or satire or whatever with music.
No.
So this is, I don't think this is a Weird Al situation that we're looking at.
Right. And finally, first on the list was Super Bowl Saturday.
We've been arguing about it for years. Obviously, the world would, I think most of the country would prefer it on Saturday, right? But advertisers and TV networks still assume more people watch TV on Sunday nights, which is true in the regard that your CBS Sunday night comedies, people are watching on Sunday nights.
It's not like everybody loves Raymond, though.
This is an event.
This is an event. It's appointment broadcasting. You could tell people that the Super Bowl's on a Tuesday at 4 p.m.
They'll watch it.
They will watch it.
The top,
like you're the Super Bowl. You can put it wherever you want, and your audience is going to be there.
Typically, I believe 18 or 19 of the top 20 programs for the entire year are football games.
Yeah,
right. And the only outlier will be the Oscars.
Right.
I believe that's it. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
Air it on Saturday at 7:00. You've seen wrestling, UFC. Used to be years ago, those would be Sunday night pay-per-views. Those have all flipped to Saturday nights now.
Yeah.
It's just a better night for, I
feel like, I think that businesses, bars, restaurants, they would love the fact that if they moved it to a Saturday.
No question. Going out night.
Yeah, exactly. You already have the audience that's going to be there regardless, but then you add in the football audience that's going to be there, which is probably going to be higher than it normally would because, I don't know about you, I don't even consider going somewhere, going out to watch the Super Bowl on a Sunday just because it starts so late that by the time the game's getting rolling, I'm like, all right, well, I already got to think about going to bed because I got to work tomorrow.
It starts at 6:30. With the added time for extra breaks and everything, it's after 10 o'clock on a Sunday.
Yeah, I stayed up. I watched the whole game. I don't think I was in bed until almost 11.
Yeah, we turned it off like with the last minute, under a minute left. Didn't stay around for anything after the game. Listen. The NFL is obviously only there to make the NFL owners money. You might think that their main concern is the product they put on the field but it's not. No. Roger Goodell only cares about increasing the value of these franchises to put more money in the owners' pockets. And the fear of businesses and advertisers being less willing to pay the going rate for ads for a Saturday night game instead of Sunday, I think it's just too much and they won't do it. Even though there's a 2-week break, you can't argue that it's less time.
No.
Fans would all prefer it. Roger Goodell will never do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Oh, man. That would be so nice, though.
I know.
Imagine waking up Sunday, having the whole day, not knowing that your Sunday nights are, not ruined, but sitting at home like everybody else.
Either that or we just need to make the Monday after, I don't know, one of those floating holidays that nobody really knows where they come from, but make it a federal holiday.
They could figure out a way. I don't think anybody wants it to move the Super Bowl back 2 weeks, so it would line up with President's Day weekend every year, and that has been discussed. It's just so long.
Yeah,
that's so long.
Anyway, lots of new polls up today.
Yeah.
At Steve and Kyle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Well, Facebook and Twitter for the polls.
God, we didn't get to anything I wanted to today.
That's all right, because little peek behind the curtain. As soon as this episode finishes, we're recording another one because we got some scheduling conflicts over the next couple of weeks. So you don't have to wait very long, Kyle, because we'll be able to talk about that in 10 minutes.
Can't wait to find out.
All right, again, at Steve and Kyle, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll talk to you next week.